Heyo people, and welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna take a look at my performance in the Swedish championship in bouldering, which took place like 2 months back or so. We're gonna dive into a little bit what went well and what didn't, and just talk a bit about general competition climbing. So if you're into that, stick around because that's what we're gonna do. Before we start, I just want to say a big thank you to Svenska Klätterförbundet, which is the federation for climbing in Sweden, for providing me with just the materials from the competition, and just in general for letting me use the content. So big thank you. I guess let's jump into it and start the competition climbing.
For the qualifiers, they only had one camera on pretty much everyone climbing at once, so unfortunately there wasn't any footage of me on the first two boulders. I managed to flash them though, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, let's just talk a little bit about what the first one was about. So as you can tell, it's a slab. I think I would probably have graded this one like 6B or so, which is a relatively low grade for competitions. However, there's a lot of mistakes you can make on it, and if you read it incorrectly, then you can easily fall off anywhere. And they kind of want you to start like that in competitions, just get you a little bit confused from the start. Anyhow, here's Frederick on the second boulder, which unfortunately I didn't have any footage of either. So this was just the top part, and it started off with a pretty big dyno. Alright, let's move over to when I was climbing. So the first boulder that you can see me on is boulder number 3. Which had like a little bit of some strange positions where you sort of have to commit on a lot of the moves and trust your instincts, which you could see in the dyno is something that I, well, managed to do. And luckily I got a flash on this one as well, so it was a pretty good start to the comp. I had 3 flashes out of, 3 attempts. The fourth boulder, however, was a little bit more powerful, and when you've been climbing a couple of boulders before, you can be really tired at this point in a competition. So I was a bit fatigued and I started messing some things up and not really... I tried to skip some moves, which we're gonna see right here. So instead of going out and just like taking it slower and matching that hold that I was on, I went straight for the sloper pinch out left, which just wouldn't work. It was too far. And if we look at this attempt instead, I'm gonna take it a lot slower and just figure out where the hold is the best, which is right where I have my right hand right now. And that got me in a much better position than before. However, I did mess it up on that attempt, and with very little energy left, I went for a final attempt that we're gonna like check out right now. So the boulder was, I guess, a little bit straightforward. A lot of pulling and positioning, but if you're strong enough, you're probably gonna do this one. And luckily I had a little bit of energy reserves left and managed to top it as well. And I think that was on the 3rd or 4th attempt. To finish the climbers off, they put up a sort of coordination dyno, which started off from 2 crimps that were, okay. But the hold you go to is kind of strange. It's hard to know exactly how to grab it. And the thing is, you had to get your position, you had to dyno a lot further than you'd expect, which is why this boulder didn't get a lot of tops. I think it got 4 or 5 tops in total. So this first move is definitely what sort of complicated this boulder and got me sort of into my own head. However, after a few attempts, I managed to do the dyno, as you can see in the background right there. And the top part was a lot easier, so, sort of a cruise fest for the last 3 moves or so. At least if you're a little bit taller like I am.
Alright, so the qualifiers, they went pretty good. I lost my focus a bit and I could have performed better, but I still managed to top all 5 boulders and I was satisfied with that. I think I did it in a total of 9 attempts, which, yeah, it's pretty good. It's a good start to a competition. So anyways, we had a few hours break before the finals, but then it was time again to just start climbing.
When the finals begin, the competitors are allowed to watch the final boulders. They can see them before the competition actually starts, so they can analyze how the moves are supposed to be done and sort of discuss it with each other. You can also touch the first 2 holds, the holds that are marked with tape in the start, so you can get a better understanding of how the first position is supposed to feel as well. So the first boulder was obviously a pretty big slab, a lot of, we're gonna go into it later, but this second boulder has more powerful climbing on it, and I guess the beta was sort of, you could tell how it was supposed to be climbed when you looked at it, and you could see that you pretty much just needed the physical capacities to pull on the holds, and then you would be able to do it. So the boulder was a little bit intuitive. There was one hole that was blocked in the middle that was kind of, made it a little bit harder to know how it's supposed to be climbed. And this third boulder had, it had a lot of different betas. We had a lot of different betas in mind for how this one was supposed to be climbed, as there were a lot of holes and it seemed like you could work on different solutions in a lot of different ways. Anyhow, the fourth boulder was a power test piece. A lot of sloper pinches and something that I felt would suit me really well. So I got really stoked when I saw it, and definitely stoked to start competing. First boulder out was, as mentioned, a slab. So it started off with just a pretty big smear on that massive volume, and if you had good friction and you got a lot of surface area from your shoes on the volumes, it stuck really well. And I managed to reach my way through the first move a little bit and just go to the zone hold over there straight away, which ultimately landed me in a flash of boulder number 1. Second off was the yellow boulder with the aforementioned power climbing. Holds were pretty, you could see how you wanted to grab them, and you just had to dig in hard. And on this boulder, something interesting happened. Because I've gotten a question a lot where people ask, does it bother you when you have an audience who's watching and cheering and commenting and stuff like that? And my thought has always been that, nah, it doesn't hurt me at all. But I hadn't really considered the benefits of having an audience. Because due to COVID still being a thing, they didn't allow an audience for this competition. And I definitely noticed a lot of my pulling power was like, it just didn't feel the same when I didn't have an audience cheering me on. So that was kind of an interesting reflection to have. In the end, I started messing around with a bunch of different betas and just, couldn't complete the boulder. Couldn't even get past the first 2 moves, to be honest. Anyhow, boulder number 3, as mentioned, we had a lot of different betas in mind, and I saw one that I definitely thought would suit me. The Morpho Power Reach Your Way Through beta, where I skipped 2 holes, and, I'm happy with that. Ultimately, that beta worked for me, so I could skip through the first 2 moves quite easily. However, the zone hold right there is a little bit slopey, and the hold after it is to put it delicately, it's a chossy, slopey, glassy crimp. And on the flash burn, I messed it up completely, and because I was so stressed from trying to grab the crimp. Second burn off, and I was trying the same beta again. This position right here is pretty comfortable, so you do have some time to think and reflect on how the rest of the boulder is supposed to be climbed. But I couldn't quite figure it out. So I kept on trying the same beta again, which took a lot of power from me, but it still worked, so I kept on going with it. But I was a little bit confused at this point, because I wasn't sure how to work on the upper section. I tried it 2 times already, and I couldn't figure out exactly how to move up there. So I tried some different betas. I tried going out to the red, which was ridiculous and literally impossible. And ultimately, I noticed that I just didn't have the crimp capacity to pull on that thing, and was just too tired to even give it another good burn. Anyhow, to finish things off came the 4th boulder, my slopey pinch power boulder that I was really stoked on. I was very tired at this point in the competition, but I still felt like I really wanted to give it my all and I guess put on a good show for the live stream. So I tried this feet first beta that felt pretty good, but on the first burn I messed it up and I couldn't quite get the toe to stick. So off camera now I'm switching to my drones, which is like the shoe that I always go to for toe hooking, and decided to try the same beta again. some of the other competitors had done the previous 2 boulders, and so I knew that I couldn't win it, which sort of always drops your psyche a little bit. But I still really wanted to give it my all on this final boulder, and I really wanted to do this bad hang and feet first kind of move. So I was really happy to stick it. When I kept on going, I wasn't even sure what I was doing, so I was messing around with my feet a little bit and figured out that this heel right there would stick. But instead I slipped right off, and I only had energy for 1 more attempt. That's kind of how it goes sometimes. You waste some energy and you sort of have to regain it really, really quickly. And I guess one thing that I definitely learned from this competition is that my recovery is a lot lower than I'd like for it to be. So when it comes to this quick recovery that you really need in competitions, I'm lacking a little bit of it. And ultimately, couldn't finish the final boulder.
In the end, I placed 5th in the competition, shortly behind Frederick, who placed 4th, and then Oscar was 6th. So all in all, it was a fun competition, and we had good times and good vibes. And also, I've lately gotten really stoked on competition, and I want to do more of it. So if you like this sort of content with competitions, then feel free to let me know, and I'll try to make more, revolving it, containing training for it, everything that comes with. Again, I just want to say thank you to Svenska Klätterförbundet for providing me with the content so I could make this video. If you want to see the entire live stream, I'm going to link it down below for the men's qualis, finals, as well as the women's. So check that out if you're interested and want to see some just competition bouldering happen. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section down below. And if you like the video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And yeah, I guess that's it. We'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, folks.